When Nada was with me, and before Nada left, there was no bruising on her face. I didn't notice any bruises on Nada.
This is what child rapers and killers looks like. Those two are what child rapers and killers looks like. You should be ashamed of yourself to walk with him. You should be ashamed of yourself to walk with him. Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
You shut your mouth because
Now I'm
your
gonna
daughter
put you in
fucking
jail.
raped my child!
Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
I want you to picture a little girl. She's just 4 years old. She has dark, thoughtful eyes and a laugh that fills a room. She picks strawberries in the garden and eats them before placing the rest in her tiny basket. She hugs her father tightly every morning, as if that one gesture is enough to hold her whole world together. Her name was Nada Jane Charrita, and in January 2023, something happened to her that no child should ever have to endure. Something that would reveal the cracks in the very systems meant to protect her. Something that no one saw coming, or worse, chose not to see at all. This isn't just a story about a child who has failed. It's a story about silence, about how trust, when misplaced, can become dangerous, and about how lives can unravel when the people around a child ignore the signs until it's far too late. If you're watching this, I ask you to stay with me until the end. Not because it's easy, but because it's important. Because what happened to Nada Jane needs to be understood, not forgotten. Let me take you back to where it began. In 2015, in Johannesburg, South Africa, two young people met and fell in love, Charrita and Amy Johnson. Like many young couples, they dreamed of a future, a family, a home, a life filled with warmth. And in 2018, that dream became real. Their daughter, Nada Jane, was born. From the very beginning, she was different, gentle, curious, full of wonder. Amy gave her everything, not just care, but a moral compass. She taught her kindness, empathy, and how to see value in every living thing. They went fishing together, but Nada Jane refused to keep any catch. They want to go back to their families too, she'd say. She picked flowers during walks and gave them to her mom. She shared everything she had, even the smallest things. She was light in its purest form. But even the strongest bonds can be tested. By 2021, life began to chip away at their stability. The stress of daily responsibilities, financial pressures, and personal struggles started to pull Eli and Amy apart. Then, Amy lost her job. Her mental health declined quickly, and she found herself unable to provide the care her daughter needed. It was a devastating realization. Amy made the hardest decision of her life. She moved to Cape Town to seek help, and left Nada Jane in Eli's care. She believed she was doing the right thing. She believed Eli could give their daughter the safety and structure she couldn't. What she didn't know was that this choice, made with love, would lead to something neither of them could imagine. Eli, now solely responsible for raising a toddler, tried to hold everything together. He cooked, cleaned, worked. He read stories, dried tears, tried to ease the absence of a mother from their daughter's life. According to neighbors, he was quiet, respectful, doing the best he could. But even the best parents need help. And by the end of 2021, Eli enrolled Nada Jane in Sunshine Kids, a nearby daycare in Bedfordview. It seemed like a perfect fit: bright colors, happy children, and staff who appeared nurturing and competent. That's when Amber Lee Hughes entered their story. She was 23 years old, confident, energetic. She worked at the daycare and quickly showed special attention toward Nada Jane. Amber would send Eli notes, handwritten, decorated with hearts, always referencing how special his daughter was. It didn't take long for their relationship to shift. Eli and Amber began dating. To Eli, she seemed like a blessing. She understood children. She cared. She seemed to fill the gap left by Amy's absence. But what Eli saw as care may have been something else entirely. Amber gradually became more involved in their lives. She began spending more time at their home. She was attentive to Nada Jane's routines, preferences, emotions. And then, in March 2022, Amber quit her job at the daycare and moved in with Eli and his daughter in Mulbarton. She said she wanted to dedicate herself fully to being present for Nada Jane. It seemed like a new beginning. There was laughter again. Dinner on the stove. Amber's father, Howard Hughes, would later testify that his daughter seemed genuinely invested in the family. But not everything was as it appeared. Over time, the dynamic in the home changed. The relationship between Eli and Amber became tense. Arguments became common. Neighbors noticed. Testimony later revealed emotional instability and repeated conflicts behind closed doors. Amber, once gentle and helpful, became jealous and volatile, not toward another woman, but toward a child. According to Eli's court statements, Amber resented the attention he gave his daughter. She grew frustrated when money was spent on Nada Jane. "She was jealous that I gave my daughter more attention," Eli would later tell the court. It escalated from jealousy into control. Their relationship became a cycle of breakups and reconciliations, over and over again. They separated and reunited at least 10 times in just over a year. Amber began to see the child not as part of a family, but as an obstacle, a rival. The emotional strain in the home was growing. Court records showed that the environment was becoming more unstable by the week. And still, no one stepped in. Not friends, not family, not authorities. No one questioned the chaos building behind the doors of that quiet house. And then, the silence broke. Something happened in January 2023. The kind of event that forces the world to stop and ask, how could this have been allowed to happen? We'll explore that moment in the next part of this story. But for now, what matters is this. There were signs, there were warnings, and the people around Nada Jane had the chance to act, but didn't. She was just 4 years old, and she deserved so much more. By August 2022, it was no longer just tension. It was something much darker. Amber Lee Hughes wasn't simply unpredictable anymore. She was dangerous. That month, everything escalated. She flew into a violent rage, destroying furniture, smashing dishes. Nada Jane, only 4 years old, hid in her room while the chaos exploded around her. But it wasn't the broken glass that frightened people most. It was what Amber did next. She harmed herself, intentionally, leaving behind scenes that no child should ever witness. Blood on the walls, blood on the floor, all of it inside what was supposed to be a safe, nurturing home for a little girl. And still, this wasn't the worst of it. Months later, another moment confirmed just how serious the danger had become. Eli had to physically wrestle a circular kitchen tool, a sharp, dangerous object, out of Amber's hands. A tool that should have never been near a child in the first place. Then came November. The line that should never have been crossed was crossed. During yet another argument, Amber turned to Eli and said the words that should have changed everything. "I'll show you how I'm going to destroy you and your child." It wasn't just rage. It wasn't heat of the moment yelling. It was deliberate, calculated, cold, a threat, not only to him, but to a 4-year-old girl. Any reasonable adult would have drawn a hard line right there. Any parent would have taken action. She had already shown she could become violent. She had shown she could lose control. And now, she was making direct threats toward a child. Eli did report her. He filed a complaint. They separated again. But somehow, she stayed in their lives. Whether out of denial, desperation, or misplaced hope, Eli continued leaving Nada Jane alone with her. Even after everything. Maybe he didn't think Amber would ever follow through. Maybe he thought she just needed help. Maybe he underestimated how far things had gone. But in the end, the why doesn't matter. Because the outcome was irreversible. Every system that was supposed to protect this child failed her, her father, the community, the authorities, everyone. The morning of January 23, 2023, started like any other. Eli had an important trip planned, a job interview and property viewing in Polokwane. After months of financial instability, it felt like hope, a fresh start, something stable for himself and for his daughter. He left home that day believing this was a turning point, a new chapter. But it became the last day he would ever see his daughter alive. He left Nada Jane in Amber's care, despite everything, despite every threat, despite every red flag. It was the most tragic miscalculation of his life. While Eli drove toward a possible future, Amber's rage was simmering. She had seen messages on his phone, conversations with other women. Nothing inappropriate, but enough for her to twist into betrayal. Her anger had been building for months. But this was the spark. At 1:16 p.m., she sent a message that captured her spiraling mind. "Do you even care that I'm sitting here, not knowing what to do? Nada is wiping my tears with the same sheet we slept on." Even in that moment, she wasn't just reacting. She was involving a child. She was placing emotional weight on a 4-year-old, forcing a child to comfort her, dragging an innocent into adult chaos. The idea of little Nada Jane trying to dry the tears of someone she trusted, someone who had promised to protect her, is enough to stop your breath. And then came 4:35 p.m., a final message, the one that sealed everything. "You broke my heart. I'm going to break yours." It wasn't metaphor. It was a declaration, and Eli knew it. He read those words and felt his world collapse. He called, no answer. He texted, still silence. And then, a voice message. Panic in his voice, desperation. "Don't hurt the baby. Please, the baby is innocent. Hurt me instead." But no one was listening. Realizing he was too far away, Eli contacted a friend, someone he trusted, and begged him to go check on the house immediately. That friend agreed, unaware that he was about to walk into a nightmare. He didn't know he was racing against time to save a child. And while the car sped through the streets of Johannesburg, in the quiet house in Mulbarton, it had already begun. What took place between 4:35 and 5:10 p.m. was later described in court as one of the most brutal acts ever committed against a child in South African legal history. The details are sealed in legal transcripts. Forensic teams documented the scene. But the world doesn't need the graphic version. What matters is that this child suffered in the final moments of her life, and that she should have never been left alone. She trusted the person who turned on her. She had no reason to fear Amber. She had lived with her, been tucked into bed by her, heard bedtime stories from her lips. That trust became a trap. What we know is that it ended in a level of cruelty most people will never understand, a life extinguished, a future erased, and all of it preventable. If you're still watching, take this moment seriously. Talk about red flags. Teach people to listen when something doesn't feel right. Teach them to act before it's too late. A single comment, a single call, a single instinct might be enough to save the next child. We left off at the moment when everything should have stopped. The signs were clear, the danger unmistakable. Yet no one acted fast enough. And now, we come to the moment the world stopped for Nada Jane Charrita. After hours of unanswered messages and growing fear, Eli's friend finally reached the house in Mulbarton. Amber wouldn't open the gate. He was forced to break it down. Inside the house, the scene was surreal. Amber was soaking wet, bleeding from her wrist, sitting calmly, unnervingly calm, on the living room floor. When he asked where Nada Jane was, she simply pointed to the bathroom. And there, the worst was confirmed. In a bathroom with the tap still running, the little girl's body was found floating face down in the tub. He rushed to pull her out, called emergency services, and began CPR. He did everything a human being could do in that moment of horror. At 5:10 p.m., Amber picked up the phone, not to call an ambulance, not to save the child, but to call her father. Howard Hughes was driving home from work with a friend when the call came in. Panicked, incoherent. "Accident. Please help." He and his friend raced to the house. The gate was locked again. A tow truck was called to force it open. When they finally got inside, Howard joined in the efforts to resuscitate the child. Paramedics arrived 45 minutes later. They tried. They fought. But it was too late. Nada Jane was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. From that moment on, Amber began telling lies. She claimed the little girl had drowned by accident. She claimed she slipped, that she tried to save her, that she was confused. But nothing she said added up. She said she'd cut her wrist after tripping over a dog. Said she was running around the house, trying to stop the bleeding, unaware the child was in danger. She said Nada Jane was too heavy for her to lift. She claimed she had climbed into the bathtub and tried to save her. But the friend who found her saw the child still floating, face down. No evidence of a rescue attempt. No blood in the bathwater. No call to emergency services. Only a call to her father. And continued text messages to Eli. Even after allegedly finding the child unconscious, she was still messaging about betrayal, not fighting to save a life. The story collapsed under scrutiny.
I filled the bath a few times. She would say, "Champa, it's cold." And then I would put some hot water in for her. And then I went to the lounge and I gathered some dishes that we had left behind.
Slow down.
Sorry.
Ms. Hughes, how long was the child in the bath when she called you to say that it was cold?
It was maybe 20 minutes.
Did you threaten the child?
I did. On that day, there was an argument between Ellie and my dad over the phone. I overheard him tell my dad that if he ever wanted to see me alive again, he must come now, immediately.
In April 2025, Amber Lee Hughes stood trial at the Johannesburg High Court. She faced charges related to the child's death, including counts of homicide. She pled not guilty.
Trial of preschool teacher Amber Lee Hughes, accused of raping and murdering 4-year-old Nada Jane Charrita, has been adjourned to the 22nd of May. Hughes is expected to continue testifying when the case resumes. She's pleaded not guilty to the charges related to the January 2023 incident. The court has heard that her relationship with the child's father was filled with frequent disputes, which may have contributed to the tragic events. Well, ENCA's Bafedile Morane has been following the story. Let's find out what happened today. Bafedile, very good afternoon to you. And just hearing from the accused, Amber Lee Hughes, in court, just give us some idea of what happened, what she had to say.
Well, of course, it was a tough time for the accused this morning as she took the stand, giving the version of what really transpired on that particular day. You would recall, Yuveka, that she's facing about 2 counts of rape and 1 of murder in relation to what happened on the 23rd to the 4-year-old child. And we understand that it was her teacher, and that's when they met with the father of this particular child. So she has just said a mouthful as she was led by the attorney, her attorney, on this matter to explain what really transpired on that particular day, because that is the day she had spent together with the daughter at their home when her father was out on that particular day. And she is saying that she doesn't really know what could have transpired, and we know that she is being accused to say that on numerous occasions when they had altercations with the father, she would threaten the child. She is agreeing that there was one incident that happened in August 2022 where she had threatened to harm the child, but is saying that it's not in most of the time when they had an argument, that she doesn't really know what could have happened to the child. And she does agree that for about 20 minutes she left the child taking a bath while while she was on the phone arguing with the father, and at some point she was crying. She went to the bedroom and leaving the child there by herself for almost 20 minutes. And when she was asked as to approximately for how long was the child at the bathroom, is saying for almost an hour or more than that. But she's saying that she does not really know what could have transpired, and however saying that she had a good relationship with the child and wanted to build a good one together with the father and having a beautiful family together. Let us listen to what exactly she had told the court at that particular time.
You were, Mr. Charrita, when you testified that you had become violent at times during this argument?
No. There was only one incident.
Can you describe?
It was around August 2022. Ellie was being unfaithful and we started arguing, and I damaged a few things in and around the house. He became abusive and there was blood everywhere, and it was a bad ordeal. But I never hurt Nada and I never hurt him.
Did you hurt yourself?
No.
Did you threaten the child?
I did on that day. Argument between Ellie and my dad over the phone. I overheard him tell my dad that if he ever wanted to see me alive again, he must come now, immediately.
So Bafadile, we know that she's pleaded not guilty. We know that she was the only person. She was alone with the child, so she says, on that day, but doesn't know what happened. As you said, she left her in the bathtub. Has she offered any explanation as to what possibly happened to that child? Has she tried to lay the blame on anyone else?
She's not really apportioning blame to anyone, but however saying that she was also confused at the time when she arrived at the bathroom, seeing the child, in the bath, and then she asked herself as to what exactly is happening here. And when she came closer, that's when she realized that the child was drowning, and she went inside that particular bath and carried her out, and she made numerous calls, calling ambulances as well as alerting her father about the incident. And at the time when she went outside, it was just ambulances around, and then that's when the child was taken to be checked as to what exactly has happened. They tried to resuscitate her at that particular time. So she's saying that she does not know what could have happened, and saying that it was not the first time that they had allowed the child to bath herself. It has happened on numerous occasions, but she does not know what really could have transpired at this point in time. Let us listen to what she had told the court earlier again.
It's about after 4. Nada, throughout that day, she was playing with a little small, it was on a keyring, a little doll. It had fluff around its tummy, and she kept saying she wanted to bath the baby. She said, "Chamba, I want to bath baby." And so I ran a bath, I undressed her, and I helped her into the bath. And then I went to sit by the bed. It's right by the bathroom. It's like an ensuite. And I continued speaking to her dad. I started cleaning. Sorry.
You went to sit on the bed?
Yes.
Is this in the main bedroom?
Yes.
Is this normally where she bathed?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I filled the bath a few times. She would say, "Chamba, it's cold." And then I would put some hot water in for her. And then I went to the lounge and I gathered some dishes that we had left behind.
Slow down.
Sorry.
Let's use how long was the child in the bar when she called you to say that it was cold?
It was maybe 20 minutes.
Bafedile, we understand that Hughes will continue testifying when they get back to court on the 22nd of May. Do we have any idea who else we'll hear from in this case?
Well, we will hear the cross-examination at that particular time when they come back to the court, and of which is scheduled to the 22nd and 23rd of May. And then the state will be questioning the accused in this particular matter. Yuveka
maintained her story, blamed confusion, panic, accident, medication. Even claimed dental pain had rendered her unable to speak clearly. The delays began. Postponements, hearings adjourned. Amber cited one medical excuse after another. Medication side effects, dental surgery, psychological issues. And outside the courtroom, Eli's anger grew. "It's horrible," he told the press. "It's like the third time. We get stuck in the same place. The criminal has more rights than the victim."
How much she loves and cares about the child, and she didn't touch her that day. So I said, no, she touched her and she was inside of her as well. That's what I said.
You absolutely believe.
Yeah, 100%.
And is there anything else you want to say on what you witnessed today?
What do you want me to say? Everyone, you all saw the lies. You all saw her saying something and then 2 sentences later saying something else. Lloyd wasn't there that day. She said Lloyd was there and she made coffee for Lloyd. Lloyd wasn't there that day. Lloyd didn't come to work that day. Lloyd doesn't have access to my house. The next thing so how come she doesn't have the keys of the house, but Lloyd, the gardener, got keys of the house? Can you see, like, there's illogic. If you hear what she said, common sense is defeated, logic is defeated. That's all.
That's
You dropped something. Sorry, I don't know if it's important.
Inside the courtroom, things were tense. And eventually, they boiled over. In June 2025, Amy Johnson, Nada Jane's mother, looked Amber in the eyes and said words that came from a place no parent ever wants to know. "Count your days," she said. "Your days are numbered." It was pain speaking, grief, rage that no one could expect a parent to bury. Howard Hughes responded with accusations of his own, attacking the grieving parents, defending his daughter, showing a level of indifference that echoed everything his daughter had done before.
Count your days. Count your days. Your days are numbered, Gali.
You must be shy to open your mouth. This is what child rapers and killers looks like. Those two are what child rapers and killers looks like. You should be ashamed of yourself to walk with him.
You know me, sir.
You should be ashamed of yourself to walk with him. You have children. You have children. Think about what happened. You go put that where the sun doesn't shine.
This fucker.
Yes. Now I'm gonna put you in
You
jail.
shut your mouth because
Now I'm
your
gonna
daughter
put you in
fucking
jail.
raped my child.
No, you
Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
You want some proof?
Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
Yeah, Mariska,
Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
Me?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, you gave it to me. Thank you, you gave it to me. No one threatened you.
Nothing.
No
You're
one
getting
threatened you.
arrested, buddy.
Thank you.
You're getting arrested.
There you go.
On June 19, 2025, Judge Richard M. Cobella was expected to deliver a verdict. The evidence was overwhelming. Testimony from first responders, medical analysis from forensic experts, contradictory stories, timeline that didn't match, witnesses who saw the aftermath firsthand, and one fact no defense could erase. Amber never called for help. She called her father. She messaged Eli. She let that child remain underwater. But even with a guilty verdict, nothing could bring Nada Jane back. No sentence would restore what was lost. No judgment would reverse the pain that had already rooted itself in 2 shattered parents. The real failure didn't happen in one day. It happened over months, over missed opportunities, ignored reports, dismissed threats, downplayed warning signs. Let's be clear. This wasn't a mysterious tragedy. It was preventable. Amber had made threats. She'd been reported for violence. There were signs, visible, documented, repeated. A pattern of instability, of manipulation, of control, of jealousy directed at a child. Domestic violence reports existed. Witnesses spoke up, and yet, nothing happened fast enough. Social workers didn't intervene. Law enforcement didn't remove the threat. Judicial delays gave Amber more time than a child ever had. Worst of all, the people closest to Nada Jane didn't protect her when they should have. Eli, her own father, left her alone with someone he knew was dangerous. It's a painful truth, but one that must be said. If you see the signs, act. Do not wait. Do not explain it away. Jealousy toward a child is not normal. Threats against children are not drama. Violence in a home is not private business. Call child protection. Contact police. Tell someone. Be the person who does something before it's too late. Every minute of silence could cost a child their life. Nada Jane had no voice in the end. She had no defense. She trusted the people around her, and they weren't enough. Since her death, her parents, Amy and Eli, have found some small ground to stand on again. They've grieved together. They've remembered together. Amy speaks about her daughter with a love that still trembles. "We always went fishing," she says. "We never kept the fish." She wanted them to go home. She remembers the garden, the strawberries, the park walks. She always asked for a flower. Just one. I never said no. Those memories, that's all they have left now. Not a future, not a graduation, not birthdays. Only the memory of a little girl who trusted deeply, loved freely, and smiled like the sun.
You guys probably experienced it, but you haven't recognized it yet. And it's called an act of terrorism. Raping and torturing a child to death can only, you can't put it anything less than an act of terrorism. It's not in South Africa or in other things, you know. Terrorism doesn't always have a long beard and the extremist ideology. There are a lot of photos of her with her schoolmates, school friends and her swimming friends, because she was doing swimming and gymnastics after school.
The teacher said that she had the little kids wrapped around the pinky if she said this could play outside, everyone played outside, everyone did inside and eat, everyone went inside and ate, so she was like a little superstar.
That's wonderful. And if you could say one last thing to her. It's difficult to condense that into one message, but if you had the opportunity, what would you want to know? What did you tell them? I'll tell her I'll see you soon. That's what I'll tell them.
That I'm happy she is in a better place.
Nada Jane Charrita lived just 4 years. But in those 4 years, she touched more lives than many do in a lifetime. She loved animals. She believed in people. She saw goodness, even where there was none. She deserved a childhood. She deserved safety. She deserved a chance to grow up. Instead, she became a warning. If you've stayed with me through this story, thank you. But I'll ask you not to stop here. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. Share this video. Speak up when something feels wrong. Maybe the next child doesn't have to suffer this way. Maybe we can change something together. For Nada Jane, and for every child who's still waiting for someone to speak up.
She was the sweetest, kindest, funniest, most helpful, amazing girl in the world. She was the best big sister, the best daughter. She just loved to love and to be loved.
Charlotte's parents sent over 20 emails to the school, pleading for help. She was only 10 when her struggles began, but the school dismissed them as simple friendship issues and failed to take action. No one truly listened until it was too late. Before we continue, I just want to take a moment to say how much I appreciate all of you. Seeing this community grow every day is truly moving, and I love reading your comments. Let me know where you're watching from. It really inspires me. And if you want to support the channel, consider subscribing or becoming a sponsor to help raise awareness about cases like this. Now, let's go back to the story of Charlotte O'Brien. Charlotte Frances O'Brien was born on January 2nd, 2012, in Sydney, Australia. She lived with her mother, Kelly O'Brien, her stepfather, Matt O'Brien, and her younger brother, Will. From the very beginning, Charlotte was more than just a big sister. She was like a second mom to Will. She adored him, always looking out for him, playing with him, and making sure he felt safe. Kelly often said that Charlotte wasn't just her daughter. She was her best friend and soulmate.
Going to my Year 6 farewell tonight. I have my bag and I'm really excited, so bye!
Charlotte was full of life. She loved swimming and often joked about being like Moana, never wanting to leave the ocean. Her favorite meal was creamy chicken pasta, a dish she always looked forward to at dinner. At home, Charlotte was surrounded by love. But at school, things were different. She had just started 7th grade at Santa Sabina College, an all-girls Catholic school in Sydney. At 12 years old, she was adjusting to a new environment and new challenges. Teachers saw her as polite and kind, someone who had a warm presence around others. But beneath the surface, things weren't as easy as they seemed. Charlotte hadn't always struggled at school. But in 2022, when she was in 5th grade, everything changed. That year, her mother gave her a phone for the first time. At first, it was just to stay in touch. But over time, Charlotte became curious. She asked for apps like TikTok and Snapchat. Kelly was hesitant, but eventually allowed them under strict rules. Charlotte didn't always follow those rules. Her phone was taken away more than once, but she always found a way to get it back. Then, in August 2022, curiosity led her to Google. She searched for her biological father's name, not knowing what she would find. What she discovered was something no one had ever told her before. It left her confused, upset, and with more questions than answers. Not knowing how to process it, she confided in a few friends at school. At first, she felt safe sharing her secret. She trusted her friends. But over time, things changed. Whispers started in the hallways. Classmates looked at her differently. What began as small jokes soon turned into something more. The teasing became constant. Charlotte realized that her secret had spread. People repeated things she had told in confidence. Some laughed. Others excluded her. She started feeling more alone. At home, she was quieter, not as talkative as before. Kelly noticed and tried to understand what was wrong. That's when she found out. Charlotte had searched for her biological father, and ever since, school hadn't felt the same. Wanting to help, Kelly emailed the school in August 2022. She explained that Charlotte had shared something personal, and now she was struggling because of it. The thought that someone else's actions are still affecting my baby years later is very hard, she wrote. The school responded, saying they took bullying seriously. But nothing changed. As time passed, the teasing didn't stop. Charlotte kept coming home upset, feeling left out, feeling unwelcome. Kelly hoped things would get better, but they never did. In November 2022, she emailed the school again, asking for help. She wanted real action to be taken. The school replied that a teacher had spoken with Charlotte's classmates, and the girls had agreed to be kind to each other. But nothing changed. By 6th grade, the situation was no better. Kelly kept sending emails, one in May 2023, another in June 2024, asking the school to protect her daughter. Each time, the response was brief. No real action was taken. Instead of addressing the bullying, the school called it friendship issues. Kelly tried to explain that Charlotte was struggling, but the school's approach stayed the same. By August 2024, Charlotte had started 7th grade, her first year of high school. But instead of looking forward to a fresh start, she was more distressed than ever. She came home in tears nearly every day. On August 9, 2024, Kelly emailed the school again, saying Charlotte wouldn't be coming in because she was overwhelmed. She had tried everything, emails, meetings, pleading for help, but nothing changed. On August 17th, Kelly sent another email explaining that Charlotte's condition had worsened and she had taken her to see a doctor. Kelly said the school's response was brief. When she brought up the latest incident, they told her it had been investigated. But since the other students denied it, the school simply closed the case and moved on. No real action was taken. With no real support at school, Charlotte started looking for comfort elsewhere. That's when she met Ava, a 7th grade student from suburban Sydney, through Snapchat. In Ava, she found a friend who listened, someone who reminded her that she mattered. They talked about school, their lives, and little things that made them happy. Ava was kind and understanding. She encouraged Charlotte to stay positive, reassured her that things would get better, and reminded her of her strengths. Their conversations became a source of comfort, a small escape from everything Charlotte was dealing with at school. But despite Ava's support, the situation at school didn't change. The teasing, the exclusion, and the lack of action from the school weighed heavily on Charlotte. No matter how hard she tried, every day felt like a battle. Then came September 9th, 2024. That day, Charlotte seemed different, happier than she had been in a long time. Her stepfather, Matt, later recalled how bright and full of life she was. That evening felt completely normal. She ate her favorite meal, creamy chicken pasta, and spent time with her family. She worked on her math homework, getting every answer right. She even danced around the house like she always did when she was in a good mood. She baked banana bread and shared a piece with her dad. She played with her younger brother, Will, laughing and making him smile. When it was time for bed, she hugged her mom, said goodnight, and happily skipped to the shower. No one knew it would be the last time they'd see her like that. Later that night, Charlotte spoke to Ava on the phone. She told her about a group chat where classmates had been saying cruel things about her. Ava tried to comfort her. "That's not true," she told Charlotte. "You're none of those things. Don't believe them." Charlotte promised to call Ava back in 5 minutes. Instead, Ava received a message. "I'm sorry." The next morning, Kelly walked into Charlotte's room like she always did. But what she found shattered her world. As the family struggled to process their grief, they discovered a message Charlotte had left behind. In it, she asked her parents to speak up about what she had gone through, so that no other child would have to suffer the same way. But what broke her mother's heart the most was one final request. Charlotte asked Kelly to stay strong for Will. The day after losing their daughter, Charlotte's parents were devastated, but determined to fulfill her last wish. They reached out to radio host Ben Fordham, hoping to share her story. On Monday morning, Fordham told listeners he was supposed to be on leave, but after reading the message from Charlotte's family, he couldn't walk away. As he spoke, his voice cracked. He tried to hold back tears but couldn't. When he read Charlotte's final words to Ava, he broke down. For a moment, the studio fell silent. It was clear this wasn't just another story. Charlotte's parents had spent years trying to get someone to listen. Now, the whole country was hearing them. That same day, Kelly sent one final email to Charlotte's school. She poured out her pain, her regret, and her anger that nothing had been done despite her countless warnings. It was too late to save Charlotte, but she hoped it wouldn't be too late for another child. On Friday, September 13th, students were given the day off to attend Charlotte's funeral. Hundreds of people arrived, many wearing pink ribbons, Charlotte's favorite color. Through tears, Kelly spoke about her daughter, the love she had for her, the joy she brought into the world, and the hope that no other family would have to endure the same heartbreak. In the weeks that followed, Charlotte's parents refused to let her story fade. They started Charlotte's Legacy, an online fundraiser for Kids Helpline, a service that helps children in crisis. Charlotte would never want us to be broken, Matt said. She wanted kindness. She wanted people to care. But they weren't just raising money. They were pushing for real change. I've heard schools call this friendship issues, Matt said in an interview. But let's be clear, this isn't a friendship issue. In the real world, it's called bullying, and it needs to be taken seriously. Days after Charlotte's passing, her aunt placed a small memorial outside Santa Sabina College, a quiet tribute to her niece. But within 24 hours, it was gone. The school said they removed it for student well-being, claiming mental health professionals had advised them to do so. But when a reporter reached out to those experts, they denied ever giving that advice. Public outrage followed. Under pressure, the school issued an apology, admitting they could have handled things differently. They later met with Charlotte's family, but Matt described the meeting as disappointing. It felt like they still weren't really listening, he said. Charlotte's story spread across Australia, reaching even the highest levels of government. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese publicly acknowledged that something needed to change. He supported the idea of restricting access to social media for children under 16, emphasizing how online bullying had followed Charlotte home. Charlotte O'Brien should have been safe. Her school should have protected her. But now, her parents are making sure her story isn't forgotten. They are fighting to make sure no other child feels as alone as Charlotte did, because no family should ever have to go through this again.
I love you, no matter what. I hope you be safe and just know. I love you, bye.
Everyone knew him as Gabe. He was a bright, kind-hearted boy, always full of energy and always smiling. Music was his greatest passion. He loved singing and playing the guitar, using it to bring joy to those around him. By the time he was 5, Gabe had already decided what he wanted to be when he grew up. He dreamed of joining the army, protecting people, and making a difference. His mother, Cornelia Reynolds, still remembered a moment that perfectly captured his determination. One time, he put on this little FBI vest and an earpiece, she recalled. I sent him outside to take out the trash, but he didn't come back. When I went to check on him, he was standing by the door like he was on patrol. Gabe's father, Benyam Tay, no longer lived with them, but they remained close. They talked often on the phone, and every summer Gabe would visit him in Atlanta. His father once took him to Robbins Air Force Base, and the excitement on Gabe's face was unforgettable. He was completely in awe, getting a glimpse into the world he one day hoped to be part of. At 6 years old, Gabe started first grade at Carson Elementary School in Cincinnati, Ohio. Like most kids, he was eager to make new friends and explore this new chapter of his life. His teachers described him as polite and kind, always ready to help others. His classmates thought of him as funny and full of life. If I was ever feeling down, he'd always find a way to make me smile, one friend later said. At home, Gabe loved telling his mom all about his school days, what he had learned, the friends he had made. But over time, that excitement faded. The hallways that once felt full of possibility started to feel different. Not long after he started school, something happened that left his mother worried. One afternoon, Gabe came home with visible injuries on his face. When Cornelia asked the school about it, they brushed it off, saying it was just a playground accident. She wanted to believe them, but not long after, Gabe had to have 2 of his front teeth removed. The school never gave a clear explanation of what had happened. Gabe didn't complain. He never did. But looking back, that moment was just the beginning. By the time he entered 2nd grade, things had started to take a darker turn. In the first few months, another student hurt him at school, but no one informed his mother. Later, he was injured again, this time badly enough that he had to see the school nurse. Yet once again, Cornelia wasn't told. She only found out much later. As the year went on, another incident happened on the playground. The school said disciplined another student for it, but they never gave Gabe's parents any real details about what had taken place. At home, Cornelia started to notice small changes in her son. He wasn't as talkative about school anymore. Some days, he came home quieter than usual. But she had no idea what was really going on behind the walls of Carson Elementary. Then, in 2016, Gabe turned 8 and started 3rd grade. Within just a few weeks of the new school year, there was another incident. This time, the school claimed Gabe had hurt another student and gave him a consequence for it. But later, some believed Gabe had only been trying to defend himself. Instead of taking the time to truly understand what had happened, the school placed the blame on him. And things didn't stop there. His mother never received a call. The school claimed they left a voicemail, but Cornelia later said she never got it. Even though Gabe's father, Benyam, was listed as an emergency contact, he was never contacted either. As the school year progressed, the incidents didn't stop. Another troubling situation occurred, and once again, no communication came home. Days later, Gabe found himself targeted by another classmate. When he tried to protect himself, the school warned him that if he reacted again, he would face consequences. Meanwhile, the student who had started the altercation faced no real punishment. Then, later that year, Gabe sustained a head injury on the playground. When Cornelia requested to see the surveillance footage, the school refused. Once again, she was left in the dark. And when the new year began, things only worsened. On January 9th, 2017, Gabe had another distressing encounter with classmates, but instead of receiving the support he needed, he was left to handle it on his own. Later that year, an incident on the playground left him injured. Again, when Cornelia asked for more details, she didn't get clear answers. On January 24th, 2017, just 2 days before everything changed, Gabe walked into the school restroom, unaware of what was about to happen. Another student had already been bothering others in there. When Gabe entered, he was suddenly shoved, causing him to lose his balance and fall hard to the ground. He stayed there for a while, struggling to get up. Other students passed by, but no one seemed to realize how serious the situation was. Eventually, a staff member arrived, but the school didn't follow up as they should have. Later that day, Gabe was sent home. The school told Cornelia that he had simply fainted, but she didn't know the full extent of what had happened that day. That night, Gabe felt unwell. He had a terrible stomachache and kept throwing up. His mother took him to the hospital, thinking it was just a bad stomach bug. The next day, Gabe stayed home to rest. Looking back, Cornelia believes this could have been prevented. If I had known what he was going through at Carson, this could have been avoided. On January 26, 2017, Gabe returned to school, still weak and recovering, walking straight back into a place that had already failed him. That morning, 2 students took his water bottle and tried to flush it down the toilet. Gabe, frustrated and exhausted, went to a teacher hoping for help. But once again, nothing was done. That afternoon, Gabe came home as usual. He put his things away and went to his room, just like he always did. Cornelia assumed it was just another school day. Hours passed, and the house remained unusually quiet. When Cornelia checked on him, something felt off. She called out to him but got no response. Concerned, she called for help, and a neighbor rushed over. Emergency responders arrived soon after. That day, tragedy struck. Gabe's family was left heartbroken, searching for answers. A GoFundMe was set up to help the family, raising over $20,000. However, No amount of money could ever bring back what they had lost, and at that point, they still had no idea about the real truth. The truth, however, was about to be revealed. A few weeks after Gabe's passing, his parents were given access to the school's surveillance footage. They had been seeking answers, but nothing could have prepared them for what they saw. The video showed a moment that had previously gone unnoticed. Gabe had been involved in an incident at school, one that left him clearly unwell. Instead of receiving immediate medical attention, he was sent home without a full explanation. His parents were never properly informed about what happened that day. They had no idea Gabe had been struggling and didn't realize how serious things might have been. The footage raised even more questions about how the school handled student safety. After the surveillance footage was revealed, other parents spoke out about bullying at Carson Elementary. Catherine Lundy shared how she had removed her 2 children from the school years earlier due to bullying. Carolyn Emery revealed that her 9-year-old daughter cried every morning, terrified to go to school. It was clear Gabe wasn't the only one. As more parents came forward, public pressure grew, demanding answers. But the school remained silent. Gabe's parents knew they needed answers. They had too many concerns about how the school handled the situation. In August 2017, they began pushing for change, determined to ensure no other child would experience what Gabe had gone through. Initially, their efforts were met with resistance. The school insisted they had no way of knowing the full extent of Gabe's struggles. But his parents didn't give up. They continued raising awareness, demanding that schools take bullying more seriously. Then, in 2020, new information emerged. Reports revealed that key incidents had been overlooked, and serious concerns had been ignored. With this evidence, the case was reopened, giving Gabe's parents another chance to seek accountability. By 2021, their fight for change had made an impact, leading to significant improvements in school safety policies. Gabe's story sparked important conversations about student safety nationwide. It became a wake-up call for parents, teachers, and schools everywhere. Today, more schools are taking bullying prevention seriously, and policies are being re-evaluated to ensure students feel safe. Gabe's legacy serves as a powerful reminder that every child deserves a secure, supportive learning environment. Through awareness and action, change is happening, and Gabe's story continues to inspire that change.